So I've been kind of doing some studying, right? And we've been going over this research of how to basically distance yourself from bad habits, And we had one particular one that a lot of people are famous for, a lot of people support, which is basically their private time, the sex life, basically, So, I noticed that my sex life has got pretty hectic, I mean, having always, conditioned myself to some degree and realized that, mentally, I was relating two things to associate with each other, like drugs and sex, and one wouldn't be there without the other, or I wouldn't think of one without prior to having thought of the other, but the way it was interlaced, But now that I've like gotten away from the drug use, the pornographic lifestyle, I find it that now, like, it becomes this supposed idea of creating a perception in me of dealing with a spiritual warfare, because essentially now, this entity that I've claimed to have basically influence over my mind right now, like basically I seen it best by comparing the fact that my whole beginning, like 10 to 15, 20 years of life, all I did is sit there and watch a screen. And either I noticed every detail because I was alive enough and no one was possessing me and blinding me, or I was possessed and blind and I was only focusing on little things until I thought that was me, and until this voice was able to point my attention then without my even noticing that it was someone else directing me. Because or else, you would think, like right now I'm looking at the screen, I see every nick and cranny, I see the glass, I see the roof, I see the person, I see the facial hair, I see the hair up there, all kinds of details there that are relevant. Except first you got to ask yourself, am I free to think for myself? Because essentially that's the biggest thing right now, the dilemma being that, are you really thinking for yourself, or are your thoughts being picked for you? Is your perception being decided for you? Because I mean, I've experienced that. My perception for like 5-6 years has been clearly dictated for me, So, I mean, it's not a matter of a question now. It's just more of a, how has the warfare evolved? Well, now when I go to public places, I basically hear people saying very, very honest, clean, clear cut, and respectful stuff. Yet again, when it reaches my mind, they were just talking about plunging a toilet. And guess who's in my mind, in my entity? And, they picture a whole different dynamic. They're still trying to keep that old person alive, the drug addict, the person who's addicted to screen time, the person who put the machine before human interaction, that's who they're addicted to. That's what they're after, that's who they want to keep alive, So that's kind of how I note that everywhere I go now, like why little things are, picking or scratching at that old personality, that dead person that, hey, giving you them credit as well. They're the ones who helped me destroy that person. And it was only thanks to them that I was able to.